Today, we're going to spend our time talking about New Church Day and what it really means for this to be the new church's birthday. Now, to talk about this, I want to first actually talk about some other holidays that maybe are a little bit more obvious what they mean and what they stand for. So, for example, Christmas. We know that Christmas is about the Lord being born into the world as a little child, so that he could come at this time of darkness and evil and fight against that evil. And then Easter is a celebration of the end of that process where the Lord conquered evil. He came back from death to show that he had won. He had victory against all the evil in the world that wanted to destroy him. So if that's Christmas and Easter, what's the new church day about? What is New Church Day all about? Well, New Church Day is about a couple of things. One, it's about the return of the Lord. Because even after the victory of Easter, the Lord's work was not done yet. And so he promised when he was on earth that he would someday come back, and everyone would be able to see him and to have a relationship with him. And the other thing that New Church Day is about is the birth of a church, or the New Jerusalem. The book of Revelation promises that someday the holy city, New Jerusalem, would come down onto earth, and all the good people could live together with the Lord in his heavenly kingdom. Now, for those two things to happen, the Lord needed to share new ideas with people. Ideas that would change how they think about the Lord and who he is, and also ideas that would change their behavior and how they treat other people. And he chose to share these ideas by talking with a certain person a few hundred years ago. And that person's name was Emanuel Swedenborg. So who was Emanuel Swedenborg? Well, he was a man who lived in Sweden in the 1700s. He was a scientist, which means he studied nature. And he was also a philosopher, which means he studied ideas. And he was also a theologian. That means he thought about the Lord and religion and spiritual things. When he was in his 50s, he had a vision of the Lord. And the Lord gave him this special job, which was to publish a series of books based on the things that he was going to experience and learn. And the Lord taught him these many ideas that would be in these books through reading the Word and inspiring him. And the Lord also allowed Swedenborg to look into the spiritual world and talk with the angels there. So those are where Swedenborg's ideas come from, directly from the Lord, inspired while he was reading the Word. Now, what were some of those ideas? Well, if we look at some of the books he wrote other books, but if we look at some of the books, we can get a good sense of what those ideas are that the Lord wanted us to know. So these books represent the birth of the new church. And it's not just a birth that happened when they were first published, which was a few hundred years ago, but that birth also happens when people learn from those books and then live the ideas that they've learned. The question is, why the 19th of June? Why do we celebrate New Church Day on the 19th of June? Why don't we celebrate it on the 23rd of September? Well, when Swedenborg finished his last book, True Christian Religion, something very special happened on the 19th of June in the year 1770. So let's read what Swedenborg says happened. After this work was finished, the Lord called together his 12 disciples who followed him in the world. And the next day he sent them all into the whole spiritual world to preach the gospel that the Lord God Jesus Christ reigns, whose kingdom shall be for ages of ages. This took place on the 19th day of June, 1770. So with the completion of all these books, Jesus can now be in charge in our lives because we can know who he really is, we can understand him and what he wants of us, And the church, which is really the Lord's kingdom, can exist on this earth because we can more fully live the Lord's teachings. And so when we do that, we're living in his kingdom. And so on the 19th of June, we celebrate all of those things. So now we can go back to our 3 holidays and we can understand all of them. Christmas is about the birth of the Lord to begin his fight against evil. Easter is about the Lord rising from the dead and having victory over evil. And New Church Day is about the Lord and knowing him better and forming a deeper relationship with him and establishing his kingdom on the earth.